It's a beautiful thing when people help others in need. But Lucy really took it to another level. Over the years, she had built a friendship with a homeless man, Mark. So much so, she even invited him to her wedding, to the disgust of her friends and family. But before we start, make sure to subscribe if you haven't and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. One day, something happened to Lucy that she had been waiting for years. Her boyfriend, Jack, proposed to her. She was overjoyed and couldn't wait to share the news with Mark. When she told him about the engagement, Mark was thrilled for her. "You deserve all the happiness in the world," he said. Mark felt a lump form in his throat. He had never expected to be a part of something so special. "I would be honored," he said. As the wedding day approached, Mark rehearsed his lines over and over again, making sure that he had everything memorized. But little did Lucy and Jack know that Mark was planning to do something very special at their wedding. He decided to befriend a librarian, and with his naturally kind and charismatic character, his plan quickly worked. She let him use the computer as long as he liked and even lent him a few books. Mark was very careful with the books and only took them outside to read in the sun. After a few days, Mark had done enough research. He thanked the librarian for her kindness and returned all of his books. Mark spent the next few days poring over his notebook, scribbling down ideas for the surprise he had planned for Lucy and Jack's wedding. Lucy had arranged for Mark to stay at a nearby hotel and rented a tux for him to wear. She made sure Mark felt confident standing before so many unknown people. Everyone chatted happily together and didn't seem to pay much attention to Mark, who awkwardly stood somewhere by a tree. Suddenly, the wedding planner walked over to Mark and asked him how he was doing. She smiled at him and made him feel at ease. She told him he should walk to the altar in about 5 minutes so that they could install the microphone to his height and do a little sound check. So that's what Mark did. He walked to the altar and waited patiently. Technicians walked around him, arranging the microphone's cables so no one would trip over them, and they asked Mark to test the microphone briefly. Suddenly the music started and everyone rose off their seats. They turned to the door and waited for Lucy to come out. Finally, it was time for Lucy to walk down the aisle. She looked gorgeous in her wedding dress, and everyone could feel the love in the air. Mark's heart was pounding in his chest as it was his time to speak. He cleared his throat and wanted to begin, but suddenly realized he had forgotten all of his rehearsed lines. It turned out that the rings were missing. Panic spread among the guests, and Lucy and Jack looked bewildered as the best man and maid of honor frantically searched for the rings. Mark's heart skipped a beat. He had carefully planned his surprise to follow immediately after the exchange of rings, and now it seemed like his moment might be ruined. To lighten the mood, Jack ran to a bush to lighten the mood and made a ring out of a small twig. He walked back over to Lucy, who saw what he had done and smiled lovingly. Jack told her they didn't need expensive rings. All they needed was each other. After a tense few minutes, the rings were finally found. The ceremony resumed, and Jack and Lucy exchanged rings with beaming smiles on their faces. After the ceremony ended, everyone walked to the room where the wedding reception would take place. The room was beautifully decorated, and there was a large table that presented all sorts of foods. A dance floor lay in the middle of the room, and the wedding cake stood on a big pillar close to the bride and groom's table. He had to sneak out of the room, but everyone stood close by the door. So Mark figured there was nothing else he could do but not care about others' opinions. He ran out of the room, and everyone looked at him confusedly. "Lucy, Lucy!" he yelled. Suddenly he heard a faint sound. "Mark?" someone yelled back. It was Lucy. "I'm in here!" Mark entered a room and saw Lucy and Jack standing next to each other in front of a mirror. They were changing their outfits for their grand entrance. "You guys have to come to the reception room," Mark told them while holding the door open. "What's going on, Mark? Did something happen?" Lucy worryingly asked. "No, nothing like that, but I have a big surprise for you guys," Mark replied. They quickly followed Mark back to the reception room. Mark went in first, so Lucy and Jack could still do their grand entrance. They thanked everyone for being there on their special day and said a special thank you to Mark. Then the DJ asked Mark to come to the stage again and held out the microphone to him. Everyone wondered what was going to happen, especially Lucy. She had never seen this side of Mark before. Finally, it was time for Mark to grab the microphone. He walked to the center of the dance floor with a big spotlight on him. He began to speak, his voice steady now, and he poured his heart out in his words. He expressed his gratitude for Lucy and Jack's friendship, their unwavering support, and the love they had shown him over the years. Mark's words were sincere, and as he spoke, he could see tears in Lucy and Jack's eyes. Then, as Mark finished his speech, he took a deep breath, and to everyone's surprise, he began to sing. Everyone was surprised by this side of Mark and never expected it to happen. His voice was rich and soulful, and the lyrics were a reflection of his feelings for Lucy and Jack, capturing the essence of their relationship and the love they shared. As Mark sang, the guests were captivated by his performance. Many were moved to tears, and some even joined in, softly humming along with the melody. When Mark finished his song, there was a moment of silence, followed by thunderous applause. The guests were on their feet, cheering and clapping for Mark's heartfelt performance. Lucy and Jack were visibly touched, and they rushed to Mark, embracing him tightly, thanking him for the most beautiful surprise they could have imagined. Lucy danced with her friends and family, and there was not a worry in sight. Mark had never seen so much love in one room, and everyone got along great with each other. As the night came to a close, Lucy and Jack pulled Mark aside to express their deepest gratitude once again. They thanked him for his heartfelt words and beautiful song, and told him that his surprise had made their wedding day even more special and unforgettable. Mark smiled as he hugged his friends tightly. As they looked out at the twinkling stars in the night sky together, Mark felt a deep sense of contentment. He realized that sometimes the most meaningful surprises come from the heart, and that expressing love and appreciation for the people who mean the most to us can create some of the most cherished moments in life. The end.